everybody. We had an appointment at 12 o'clock, and it's 12 o'clock, so let's get started. So I'd like to just first introduce, today is Wednesday. It is April 15th, formally tax day. Now, this year, there are so many great things for us to be positive about, and we're going to focus on the positivity. And today we've brought Mr. Positivity with us. We've got Dusty Oglesby with us. He's a mega agent and a bold coach, a great friend of mine. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Dusty?
Well, Rich, hey, well, thank you so much. And I know some of you already on the call. And so, yeah, to tell you about me. So obviously, I usually let everybody know when your name is Dusty and you sound like this, you can only be from Texas. So that's a given. I do have a brother named Rusty. You can't make that up. We're not twins. He's about 6 foot 220, and I'm not, Rich. I'm taller than that. So I live in Frisco, Texas. Have a beautiful bride named Elle. I have 2 beautiful kids, twins, Caitlin and Grayson. They're 7. We call them Scooby and Dooby around here. I've been with Keller Williams. I joined Keller Williams in November of 2012. Have never been anywhere else. I believe wholeheartedly in who we are, our culture. And Rich, I think you would second this, and all of you as leaders would. I don't think I've ever been more impressed with the leadership of our company than I am right now in this season. And so the reason that I'm a bold coach, and quite frankly, the reason that we are where we are is because of everything that I've learned right here in this company. As I've been coached by great men. Rich, you're a friend and a mentor of mine, and you know as well as I do, we have a lot of mentors around us and a lot of leaders around us. And so I went into real estate. I was in ministry for about 10 years, and then I was also a tennis pro for about 7 years. And I didn't know that for 7 years on a tennis court, I was building this incredible database that was going to serve me incredibly well in real estate. I had no idea that's what I was doing, and yet it was. And in fact, the gentleman that recruited me to Keller Williams, I taught his daughter in tennis. And for 2 years, Rich, this guy would come to every tennis lesson, and every single time he would very lovingly say, "Hey, man, when you're ready to take the next step in your life, I've got a great opportunity for you. This company and who you are will line up, and you've got an incredible database, and you got to go into real estate." And so that same gentleman recruited me into the company. I was on his team for 11 months. He actually paid my way to Bold, which is part of my story, and we can share that later. Paid my way to Bold in February of that year because I didn't have the money to go. And it was in that Bold room with Kate Patulski that I wrote down, "I intend to be a Bold coach someday." And I had not sold a house ever in my life when I wrote that down. And
that is an audacious goal. I love that.
Hey, brother. Yeah. And it was after that Kate said, "Well, in order to even be considered, you've got to sell 75 units 2 years in a row." And I said, "Well, I better get to work then," because I'm a little bit of ways away from that. I hadn't sold anything. So was able to be on a team for about 11 months. Had great training, great learning. Started my own team about 11 months in, and then built that team.
So say that one more time, Dusty. How long were you licensed before you started a team?
11 months. I was 11 months in.
And what was your level of production at that point?
My level of production, so my personal level of production at that point was about 10 million. And so, like I said, I had my business has always been built on, Rich, the database. I have just a passion for that part of the business because that's how we built everything. And so, I had all the systems and tools and models within the team framework I was in that allowed me to then be able to do what I did at a really high level, which was connect with people and be in communication with people. And so I was able to do 10 million personally my first year, meaning business that I obtained for myself, which let me know, hey, I have the ability to go and do this on my own. And then what I learned real fast, Rich, was I had that ability, and yet when I walked away, I lost the systems, the models, and the tools. I didn't lose them. I didn't put them in play in the manner that they were in play on the team I was in. And so a lot of my learning curve was there were things we were really good at, and yet the systems, the models, and the tools is what was missing. So all that being said, we were able to grow to about 40 million. Became a bold coach as I had intended and designed. And there's a lot in that story, Rich, and you can ask me anything that you desire. And then today, we've actually taken our team and we kind of merged in with one of our top teams here in the Frisco area from a leverage standpoint. Because, Rich, as you know, you and I are on the road quite a bit. And I very intentionally, bold is our one thing. And yet we still do production. And then I'm a bold coach on the road, 2, 3, 4 days a week, except for now.
So how is except for, well, there's a lot of, we'll talk about the opportunities that the now possess, because most people aren't thinking like you and I, Dusty. They're thinking about the negative side of this. And you and I are thinking about what doors is this virus going to open up for us? Opportunity.
That's right,
guys. That's what right. About. So talk to me. What kind of level of production do you have right now in your team? What did they do last year? How many units or how much volume?
Yeah. So this last year, we did 99 units. We just for some reason couldn't grab that 100th one. So we joke about that a lot. 99 units, and we were at about 68 million. And so you can do the math on that pretty quick to see that our price point. When I got into the business, Rich, one of my mentors said, Dusty, make a decision right now. What type of business do you desire to have? And so I early on really made a designed effort to be in the luxury market, in the luxury arena. In the Frisco area is a very affluent area. We have a lot of athletes that live here. And so financially, it's an area where you can do really well from a luxury standpoint. And so doing 99 units at 68 million, that puts us at a good average price point. And so we predominantly operate in that arena, 500,000 and up.
Sure. So Dusty, let me just take you back to like 2012, 2013. So you're just starting your business off. You're very successful. What's the mindset like for Dusty going into a luxury market if you've never done that before? Was there any fear, or what was that like for you inside?
Yeah, Rich, that's a great question. So what I did, yes, there was definitely fear around that because I had not operated there. And yet what I realized was, like I said, I was a tennis professional for 7 years leading up to that. Well, my clientele that I taught each and every single day on the tennis court was a luxury clientele. You're not a member at a country club if you don't, from a financial standpoint, right, do well. And so what I realized is I had already been doing business with those level of people for 7 years. I just did it in a different way, right? Sure. And one of the reasons that they actually gave me opportunity, and we coached this in the room, is they had no reason to use me from the standpoint of, hey, this guy's done a lot of real estate. He's got a long background of success in real estate. What I had was I had given them a customer experience for 7 years where they trusted me now with much more than an $80 tennis lesson. Now they were trusting with me with their $500,000 home, their $1.2 million home. And one of the ways that I learned it, Rich, quite frankly, was I knew this was an area I desired to go into. So I started going without any clients at all. I started going to every luxury open house opportunity that there was. So a lot of those, a lot of times are more like events than they are just an open house, right? If you have a $3 million home, you don't just have an open house on Saturday and Sunday and say, everybody come. You create an event, you send out invitations, and there is a certain group of people that come to that. And so what I did is I started going and having meetings face to face. I would pick up the phone and I would call these luxury real estate agents, and I would say, this is who I am, and I'm going into this market. My database is filled with luxury clients. And I really want to come and make sure that I'm very aware of, the opportunities that are out there for my people. And I didn't necessarily have any business at that point. So what I did then, Rich, is I would go to these open houses and I would just watch everything that these phenomenal, high producing, highly successful agents would do. How did they set up the open house? How did they do their invitations, right? And then I just modeled that. And so, and then what was funny, Rich, is when I walked in, they thought I was one of them, right? I had on my suit. It was the only suit I owned. And so I had to space it out, Rich. Otherwise, they'd know I was wearing the same thing, right? So, and what happens is these people are great at their database, right? So when I would go, then I went into their database. So then I got invited to everything they did. And so I became a player in the game before I was actually a player in the game.
So basically you followed the model, fake it till you make it in the beginning.
That's right. That's right. I did
nothing
have,
wrong with that.
I will say though, so that the team that we've actually partnered with now, they're called the Jan Ritchie team. And Jan Ritchie was one of those agents in our office. Jan's been doing business for 33 years and just has the systems, the models, the tool. I mean, they just follow the model to a T. And she was one of those that early on really just kind of put her arms around me and said, "Hey, I'll coach you. I'll teach you." And so I just started learning. That's what I did. I mean, I was very learning based.
Sure.
Asked every question I possibly could. And it taught me what I needed to know to be able to operate at that level.
So Dusty, you've mentioned systems and models in the first 5 or 10 minutes several times already. Mm-hmm. How important did that play with you? Because you said you started off on a team, you did 10 million your first year. There was all systems and models. You started your own team and then might have learned a valuable lesson there when you started your team that if there's a model follow. So talk the agents through those systems and models that help you become the person that you are today.
Yeah. So Rich, what I would say is, when I went in and began to do my own business, one of the 6 personal perspectives is moving from E to P. We were great at E, right? I had a lot of talented people around me. Communication has always been something that that's a natural behavior style of mine, right? Like I pastored churches, I coached tennis. So being able to communicate has always been an entrepreneurial piece for me. And so for a long time, our entrepreneurial, here's what I can tell you, we made a lot of money and yet we didn't follow the models, right? We didn't have a budget model. We didn't have an economic model. These weren't conversations we were having, Rich. We were just going out and selling a lot of real estate. And so, Ashley, you've been in the room with me before. One of the things I always say in the bold room is in real estate, you can make a lot of money or you can keep a lot of money. And we made a lot of money. We just didn't keep any of it, right? Because during that season, Rich, I didn't have a coach. I was just going off of what I naturally knew. And so, there's a bold all right that says things aren't always as they appear to be. Right. And so we looked really good, right? My hires were really good. In fact, what I did is I realized, coming off the tennis court, I had a database of 2,500 people coming off the tennis court. So what I did is I went and got other buddies off the tennis court and I brought them onto my team because I knew they could communicate and I knew they had a big database. And so I knew we would sell a lot of real estate. What we didn't have is and this is, hey, full responsibility on me as the owner, as the team leader, we didn't have that economic model. We didn't have the budget model. We went on our entrepreneurial self. And what we found is, and Rich, this is part of what I shared with you, is we made a lot of money and yet we didn't have anything really to show for that. And we didn't have anything duplicatable. What we had was go get more, go get more, go get more. And so then I would say, Rich, I made one of the biggest mistakes I think I've ever made, because then I got into a spot of revenue, right? Hey, we don't have enough revenue. So how do we create more revenue? I'll go pay for leads right? Now, we've always been a database-driven business, and yet in my mind, I thought, I'll go pay for leads, and then everyone will sell more. And what happened is we didn't sell more. It just kind of, it gave my folks some more opportunity, and yet our revenue didn't really change. And we never cut expenses. We actually increased expenses. So our problem actually got bigger, if that makes sense.
Did you find that your buyer's agents were cherry picking on the leads because now you had more leads and we didn't increase revenue? Were they cherry picking?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, they take the cream right off the top, and hey, I don't blame them. That's smart, right? Hey, let's go. And yet we weren't going back to models and systems, right, Rich? We didn't have a system by which we even operated that. They were just coming in. They were picking what they wanted, and here I am as an owner, right? We're doing 40 million, and I'm grinding my teeth at night. And I'm not sleeping, right? So hey, like I said, there's my goal in this was to be as honest and as real as I can be, because the reality is I think a lot of people out there in that position, one of the reasons I became a bold coach was to make sure that other people did not do kind of what I did, right? Because I learned, you can learn from a coach, or you can learn from your mistakes, right? And I love the way Gary puts it. Gary says, hey, we're not failing. We're actually learning to succeed. So I've learned to succeed a lot, Rich.
Yeah. Well, Dusty, here's what I love, because I once heard, and I didn't make this up, this isn't me, but I once heard, if you want to impress people, tell them your victories. If you want to help people, tell them your failures.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what you're doing right now. If we share with everybody the mistakes that we made and mistakes, what they do, I always look at mistakes as a stepping stone onto the next pathway to success. It's a necessary stepping stone. So the people that actually avoid mistakes are actually avoiding success.
Right. Right.
Speed up the process.
That's right.
Let down the defense mechanisms and just let it happen. Right? Go out there and make mistakes. Yeah. There's nothing to fear other than fear itself.
That's right. Yeah.
So at what point, because accountability, now you're a bold coach, we're bold coaches, we understand the accountability portion, how much of a role that plays. And I don't know if you saw Amber Rutherford's post on Facebook. I'm not sure if it was late last night or early this morning. She said something to the effect, and I wish I had it up in front of me, to paraphrase, something that a person who holds you accountable loves you more than the person that allows you to stay complacent and accept mediocrity.
That's right.
The person who holds you accountable loves you more. So guys, the question is, who are you hanging out with that's actually holding you accountable? Because that's what we do, right? That's what coaches do. So at what point did you introduce accountability to the team to figure out that, hey, what they don't need more leads. What they need is accountability, right? To get those leads sold.
That's right. Yeah. So the transition for us, Rich, was quite honestly looking at, okay, here's where we are, and recognizing, hey, we've got to move from E to P, and we haven't done that. And it's my job to make sure, number one, right? I've got to commit to self-mastery. And I haven't done that. I've just gone off the natural. And so now we've got to get to the unnatural. We've got to get to those things, the systems and the models that maybe are not, what I naturally am good at. And so what we were doing is we were spending too much money. We were spending it in the wrong places. And so the first thing I did, I'll never forget hearing Gary say that, at a moment for him, where he was not succeeding in the manner that he desired to succeed, he took the last of his money and he hired a coach, right?
That's right.
And so that's what I did. Instead of paying for leads, I said, I'm out on that. And guys, here's what it's going to look like. We're going to completely change everything that we're doing. And instead of spending that money on leads, I started spending that money on MAPS coaching, and it radically transformed not only my business, radically transformed my life.
You had to
And so all
reinvent
of that,
yourself for the team.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, like I said, it just, all things weren't what they appeared to be. So I even in a desperation move got into a partnership at that point to think, well, maybe this will be the fix, right? Well, that turned out to go south and not go well, which cost more money, cost more time, cost more of our mind to shift. And so coming out of all of that, and Rich, I wanted to say this during the season. This is one of the things my MAPS coach taught me. Was he said, Dusty, because I was playing the victim role pretty well, and I don't know if y'all have ever done that, right? Maybe that's just me. I was playing the victim role pretty well, right? And I was blaming, hey, my business partner, and I mean, I was putting it everywhere. And man, him loving me well enough, Rich, to basically say, hey, how about you just stop wasting our time? You're telling me you desire to be this, and yet you're choosing to be this. And man, that was a defining moment for me. And I'll never forget him saying, he said, you have to realize that failure is not a person, failure is an event. And I'll never forget that statement, because it made me realize, hey, this is learning to succeed. And this was an event that happened in my life. And we can either let this define us, or we can learn from this and we can step forward. So in those moments, Rich, that's what transitioned us to become a bold coach, was that decision right there started to transform our life, our business, all the above. And so now I think about, in that season when I was just failing and failing and failing, it's because I had no one coaching me. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And so now having people like a Dan Harker, Rich Carpenteri, Steve Schlueter, John Prescott, Pat Mancuso, all of a sudden these great men and coaches came into my world and started going, that's not okay. We got to change that. And me understanding that accountability and that authority in my life, that's what changed everything. And so here's what I can tell you. Where we are today, Rich, we're not fully where we desire to be, because we had 5 years of bad decisions, right? Now, hey, we made some really good. Hey, trust me, we did 40 million. It's not like we were doing everything wrong. Okay. So I don't want to sound like that. We did a lot really good.
Sure.
And yet, we didn't have that purposeful piece. We weren't following the 6 personal perspectives. We didn't have that coaching. And now that we do, we're in a season now where, hey, we have consequences, right? I tell my kids all the time, guys, you can do whatever you choose to do. You just don't get to choose what happens on the other. You don't get to choose your consequence. And so we're still paying for a lot of that. And yet, Rich, today, we live a life by design because of the people we've surrounded ourselves with, and because of the choices we make today that lead us to the results of tomorrow. So
that is a great story, Dusty.
Oh, yeah.
So how long, you're both coach about 2.5 years, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so I'm coming up on, I will officially have been a full-fledged bold coach. In my first bold was August. This August will be 2 years that I've been a bold coach.
All right. So you when you went to your first bold, you had never sold a house, and yet in your heart, you wrote down as a goal that you're going to become a bold coach.
That's right.
There's a lot of people that are looking for what's next in their life, whether it's to start a team, become an OP, become a MAPS coach, become a MAPS bold coach. Right. How did you know, what was your journey like to get to become a MAPS bold coach?
Yeah.
You just walk everybody through that?
Yeah, great question, Rich. So, I will. I'll never forget writing down that day in that bold room, which for the record, I also wrote down, I was divorced. I was tired. I was frustrated, wondering, did I make the right move? So I also wrote down that day, I intend to be married and I intend to have twins. So I'm just telling you what you write down in that bold room. Okay.
And now you have twins.
I'm a bold coach today. I'm married and I have twins. All right. So this stuff's for real. Okay. So Rich, what I would say is, I remember sitting in that room and writing that down. I remember Kate, telling me kind of, hey, it's 75 units, 2 years in a row. My next bold coach was John Prescott. And John actually came to me. This was a great moment for me. He came to me and said, "You're going to be a bold coach." And I said, without me saying anything, and I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he asked me what my production was. And at that point, we had done 68 units. And so here's what I'll tell you, Rich. There's truth in Gary Keller's The One Thing, right? So I asked myself the question. I read that book at that time. It's one of the things that Kate Patulski told me to do. She said, read The One Thing and do that. And so I read that, and it said, what's the one thing you can do that such by doing will make everything else easier and unnecessary? And that one thing was get on the phone and sell real estate. Like, I mean, what I heard Kate Patulski say is she said, 75 units 2 years in a row. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if I get up and I do my job, right? Like, I've got to go to work. This isn't going to be handed to me. I think that's one myth that a lot of people have when they go into real estate, that they think, well, I'm going to go into real estate and I'm going to make a lot of money. You can, and yet you got to go to work, right? In the bold room, I always say, you got to go to work. I don't care if you spell it W-O-R-K or W-E-R-K. You got to go to work. And Rich, you've been doing this for a long time, and a lot of you on the phone have. And kind of going back to kind of my journey to get there, right, Rich?
Sure.
Jan Ritchie, the team that we merged with today, I'll never forget this. That same year, one of the most defining moments in my real estate career happened. It was a Friday night, and this was right after I had been to Bold. Friday night at 6:30, and I went to the office to get my laptop. Because I don't know about y'all, I always feel like if I have my laptop, at least I feel like I'm going to work, right? And so
Sure.
I had left my laptop at the office. So I went up there at 6:30 on a Friday night to get my laptop, and I walked in, and Jan Ritchie, who's been doing real estate for 33 years, is in what we call the bullpen. And that's where everybody goes when you're brand new in the real estate business, right? You don't have an office yet. You haven't made money.
Sure.
She's in the bullpen, and she's got her headset on. 6:30 on a Friday night, Rich. And so I just stop and listen to her. And what she's doing is she's lead generating on Friday night at 6:30, right? Now I'm up there just to get my laptop, so I can feel like I'm going to go home and go to work. And yet I know I'm not going home to go to work. And so I listened to her whole conversation, and she gets off the phone, and I said, Jan, what is Jan Ritchie doing at the office on Friday night at 6:30? And she said, let me teach you something. She said, what I have learned is my database, as the years have gone on, have gotten older. And on Friday night at 6:30, my people are at home and they answer the phone. So I lead generate Friday night at 6:30. That's why we are who we are today. And that went right back to, you're asking, how'd you go from the goal you set in the bold room to being a bold coach today? That's how it happened. It was understanding, I've got to go to work. I've got to follow the models. I got to follow the systems. And I got to do it at a high level. And that was really it. To this day, right? We coach this at a high level in the room. You want to be successful in real estate? Know your scripts, know your dialogues, practice, role play, and lead generate at a high level. The top teams out there, what I think we miss, Rich, is we think they stop lead generating, and they don't. Every single top team out there, that team leader is still lead generating at a high level. Now, it may look different than it did, and yet they're still doing it at a high level. And so, and then it was teaching our people to do that, right?
So, Dusty, what you just described is right out of The One Thing. This is picture perfect for the iceberg, right? People see the success of an individual, McDonald's or Trader Joe's or a real estate agent, and they think that it came easy to them. The truth is, the success that people see is happening because of what they don't see, the iceberg under the water,
That's right.
Opportunities are earned events. Opportunities are earned. They're not given. So for the team, for the people that want to go take their team to the next level, if they want to become the next $100 million agent, they want to become the next OP or MAPS coach or MAPS Bolt coach, whatever your passion or your dream is, you got to have a passion and a dream, and then pair that up with an action, an activity.
That's right.
Because without the activity, it's nothing more than a dream.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And we do, right? We see that top of the iceberg, Rich, and we compare our insides to other people's outsides.
Right.
And we go, hey, I desire to be that. And we think what I thought was, well, I just need to lead generate. Now that was part of the puzzle. What I didn't have was that purpose and priority that we talk about, right? That's right there out on the one thing. We don't get there without a defined understanding of our purpose and our passion, which then leads us to our priorities, which then leads us to taking the right actions that are going to lead us to the productivity. And then that productivity leads to profit. We want to run straight to profit.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And remember, profit means there's money in the bank. Profit does not mean you made a lot of money. Okay.
Right.
I'm just telling you that we made a lot. I think that's why they call it profit share, right, Rich?
That's right.
A market center has to be profitable. Yeah.
That's why the P&L is so important, Dusty, because it tells a story. Those numbers tell a story. And if you want it, it's just like getting a report card. Our P&L as an agent is our report card. So the fact that we do a lot of business, it's not how much money we earn, as you said, it's how much we keep. And if we're not keeping any of what we're earning, if we don't have any profit, then why do the 40 million or the 60 million?
That's right.
Doesn't make any sense. So I love the conversation. I love and that's all this is. It's a conversation and a dialogue we're having between Dusty and me. Now, guys, I'd like to open it up to see what questions you may have for Dusty, because I promised him it would take between 30 and 40 minutes. We've got about, 6 or 7 minutes left, and I want to make sure there's enough time to answer your questions. So what questions would you like to ask Dusty?
Hey, Dusty, how are you doing?
Good, Ashley. Go for it.
So based on what's going on in the world right now with you and your team, lead generation is obviously the most important thing to do. What does you and your team do to keep up the momentum to obtain new business?
Yeah, great question. So Ashley, I'll tell you that the very first piece of all this starts with our mindset, right? Gary tells us in the shift, he literally says the gift of shift, right? And so one of the things that I challenge our folks to do, and Rich, this is part of what we're coaching in Bold Pivot, right? Is Gary's teaching us right now, wake up and pay attention. And I think it starts with our mindset and understanding. And what we do, Ashley, is every day we have every person on our team, they on a piece of paper, they draw a line right down the middle. On the left side, they put my business. On the right side, they put my life. And we have them write down every day 3 gifts that the shift has provided them, right? What are 3 gifts in my business that this shift has provided to me? What are 3 gifts in my life that this shift has provided to me? And then what that does, Ashley, is it puts us all in a position of gratitude. Now, when I get on the call, my heart is that of gratitude. Gary's teaching us right now, it's service first and sell second. Well, we can't serve people if we don't have a heart of service. Well, I can't have a heart of service if I don't understand the gifts that I have in my life. If I'm constantly thinking all the negative, right? Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. So if my emotion is negative, I'm going to act in a negative way. If my emotion is fear, I'm going to act in a fearful way. If my emotion is, hey, I've been given the gift of time, right? I mean, how many of us have been given the gift of time? 2 months ago, we were saying, I don't have time, I'm too busy. Well, here you go. Well, welcome to the shift. You have time, right? And then I think the other part, Ashley, is, it goes to the 3 C's. You heard James Shaw talk about this on the shift call. He said it's all about care, compassion, and common sense. And so right now, what we're doing, here's what I firmly believe. The more we stay connected with our people right now, Gary teaches us that what you gain in a shift, you never lose. And what we're gaining right now with our people is we're gaining connection. We're gaining conversation. And here's what I know. I don't remember everything everybody says to me. I do remember how people make me feel. I don't ever forget that, right? And so our job right now with our database is to make sure they feel connected. And we ask, our call to every person in our database right now, in my opinion, is very simple. How are you doing? Right? Is everybody healthy? Is your family healthy? And then our next question, and then responding to that, having compassion in it. And then our next question is, how can we serve you best? Right now, Ashley, that may be dropping off groceries at somebody's front porch. It may not be signing a listing agreement with them. Does that make sense? The listing agreement will come. So is that helpful?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Dusty, we've got a question. Laura would like to know, what can we expect in Bold Pivot?
Oh, I love that question, Laura. Great question. So number one, you can expect the foundation and the principles that we've always brought to you in Bold, right? The 34 Bold laws are as true today as they were 2 months ago, 6 months ago, 10 years ago, right? So we're going to continue to bring that foundation to you. It's also going to be built off of the 4 pivot points that Gary gave us, right? So Gary wrote a letter back on March 16th to all of us as the Keller Williams family. And he had 4 points in there. And the first point he said was, wake up and pay attention. And when he said that, he's saying, make no mistake where we are. This is the market that we're in. These are the circumstances we've been given, right? If I've learned one thing in life, it's that I don't get to choose all my circumstances. I do get to choose how I respond in it, right? So Gary goes further and he says, don't let how you feel about this situation dictate what you do about it. So we're going to coach to, hey, let's go on what we know works rather than how we feel about this situation, right? He also says that in normal times when the tide is high, all boats stay afloat, right? All agents are busy and obtaining business. When the tide recedes, and that's what happens in a ship, right? The tide recedes. He said only the boats that respond appropriately will be the ones who stay on the water. We're going to teach you how to stay on the water, okay? Second thing he says is learn to live on less. And so, team, what I'll tell you is we're going to walk through expenses with you, right? A penny saved is a penny earned. And this isn't just a one-time deal, right, Rich? I mean, we should be looking at that P&L every day. Where can we cut expenses all the way down to the granular level, team? Like going to your phone and going to all your subscriptions that you don't even know you have and cutting them out, right? I can tell you for me today, we don't have someone cleaning our pool. I do that, okay? That saves me $120 a month. So we're talking business and personal. So learn to live on less is the second thing that he tells us. The real power is cutting your expenses, okay? We don't out-revenue our way through a shift. And then the third is, and you guys have already heard me talk about this a little bit, is we're going to teach you to double down on leads, okay? It's not 100 contacts now, it's 200. What worked yesterday, okay? The number of leads it required yesterday, make no mistake, it's going to require more today. It's more conversations. And to that point, we're teaching you it's conversations. It's not scripts, right? It's just what Rich and I have done in this, right? Rich, we didn't have like a line by line script on this.
That's right.
And yet we had the conversation starters, which is what scripts are. It's a conversation starter, a conversations builder. And we're going to teach you the conversations that you should be having today in the middle of what's going on in our market in COVID-19. And then the fourth thing Gary gives us is learn to lean into the market of the moment, right? And here's what I know about the market, team. We cannot articulate the market we're in if we don't understand the market we're in. So we've got to study our market, know our market. Rich, what I was telling you earlier when we first got on the phone, here in Texas, I can tell you our market in Dallas, Texas is just as strong as it was 2 months ago. Now the media and everybody else is telling a different story, right? So we've got to know our market and be able to articulate it. No two markets are the same. What worked yesterday may not work today. Okay. That's why we've got to pivot. Okay. A pivot means there's an objection, which is just a question in the minds of people. And now we've got to be able to pivot and handle that question and handle those objections. And then the final thing that Gary kind of tells us here that we're going to coach you to is he says, every market will explain how you can best work in it. And it will also teach people how they can best make it work for them. The market has the answers for us. We've just got to go study it. And then we got to be able to articulate it. Okay. Does that help kind of give you an idea of an overall? Okay.
So guys, just by go in the chat box, just let's show Dusty. I think we got like 30 something people on the call right now. There's 32 people. How many of us are already signed up for Bold Pivot? Just put in the word yes. Just type in the chat box and say yes.
I know a bunch of you. I see some of you.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, we got one signing up. I like that, Stacy.
Stacy Bork, if that was you, just get together. We'll show you. Marianne can show you exactly where to sign up. $99 is probably the best investment you will ever make in yourself. So, and I'm going to do something that I'm not supposed to do with Dusty's blessing. So Dusty is one of the 8 Bold coaches who will be presenting Bold. We're not supposed to let that out. So he'll be one of the 8 coaches, guys. So you're going to have Dusty. Let me rephrase it. You'll have Dusty if you pay your $99.
That's right. Hey, and I tell you what, there's 7 others out there, and I can tell you that
just as good.
I can tell you, man, this team, Rich, of men and women you and I get to work with, we talk about life by design. I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for people like Rich Carpenteri and John Prescott and all these people. So I tell you what, Rich said it well. I do believe 100% it's the best $99 you can spend. I'm so impressed with our company that they've given all of us this opportunity to do this. And if you break that down, guys, Bold Pivot's going to be Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 3 Central, so 2 to 4 for you guys. And that's going to be the content piece, the really delivering that content to you to make sure that we know, hey, what is it we should be doing on a daily basis? And then Wednesday and Friday, you're going to have Coach's Corner, right, Rich? That's going to be more interactive. So that's 8 hours a week. So you're basically paying $25 a week. And like I tell everybody, we know you're not going out to eat because you can't. So there's $25 right there. You're not driving your car either.
Dusty, if you think about the mathematics behind it, right? They're going to have 16 hours of coaching. Divide that into $99. That's like $6.40 an hour. If you're adding Coaching Corner, that's another 16 hours. Now we're down to you're paying for like $3.20 an hour for a coach, a Bold coach. And if you add in the Bold Facebook group page Monday through Saturday from 8 to 6, we're like paying like 38 cents an hour for coaching.
That's right.
This is a no-brainer.
That's right. Hey, Rich, I'm glad you brought that up on the Bold Pivot private Facebook page, guys. Our Bold coaches, we're on that every day, monitoring that, right, Rich? I mean, we've got people
absolutely
literally every 2 hours, we're kind of rotating that out. So as you put questions on there, this isn't just for you to just randomly be a part of another group. This is a teaching time, a learning time. And so however we can help you, here's what I'll tell you. I know we're going to wrap up here. Here's what
I've got another call.
Yeah, here's what I can tell you. We love you. We're for you. We stand with you, and we walk alongside you. That's our job. So, Rich, thank you so much for allowing me to be on and have the opportunity and look forward to seeing you guys much, much more, especially when the world opens back up.
There you go. Dusty, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I'll see everybody tomorrow.
Rich, thank you, buddy. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Great day.